YouTube! Welcome back! Today we'll be watching Incognito mode, even fancier paintings. I believe this is the only fancy series videos that we haven't reacted to, so I'm very excited about this. Let's go! Now, no further yapping.
NordVPN isn't like the other girl.
Oh.
Hello, Incognito mode videos.
Hello!
Alright, so the schedule for this mini-series goes like this. We did the main channel on theater.
We did.
An incognito mode on painting, which is this.
Yes.
Then there's a main channel on wine.
We watched that.
And then an incognito mode on a bunch of stories around wine.
We love
and
wine.
There's a main channel on things that people wear.
Yes.
There's a main channel on luxury goods, and then we round the whole thing off with 2 more incognito.
Jesus! Okay, I lied. There's clearly more videos in the series that we have not watched. We have not watched Making Wine. We have not watched Rarity and Luxury. I think we watched Oddities, which I believe is where? So we have a lot more to go. Okay, cool.
Modes. And then I go back into cryostasis.
Perfect!
This first section.
Bro thinks he's out of cryosis now. Bro's update schedule is like 1 video a year. Sir, you never left cryostasis.
Is on the basics of painting. And we were a little bit worried to show it because we kind of felt like this will split the audience. Not because it's political or anything, but because it's so basic.
What?
So someone who already knows something about art would be like, yeah, of course. Why are you telling me this? But for someone like me, who knows practically zero about art, I found it really interesting. And I thought, why the heck haven't I been told this before? Right? So, first section.
I'm probably in the second chat. Any artists in chat? I think we have quite a few artists in Discord. But I do wonder sometimes when it's like, if you're a digital painter only, like if you're an anime, if you're a furry artist, and you just picked it up because it's fun and it's a hobby, and you never really had any formal training on like, you know, painting and a contemporary style and Picasso. Would you still know this knowledge? Like, do people still study this if you're just a digital artist painting for fun? Yeah, the fine arts, that's what they're called. Yes.
Section.
Right, quiet on the set.
Basics of painting.
Action!
Action!
The arts. The arts. Do not put an F in front of that. Worst mistake I ever made in my life. All right, first, some things
I
that
never thought about it that way. What the heck? All right, TIL. Today I learned you can't spell farts without arts.
make you go, yeah, and? Or, oh, right. So look at this colorful goo.
What the hell?
Paint.
Oh, that's paint.
Delicious in both jam and chip form. But its raw components are just 2 essential things. An undissolving pigment and a medium. Now, pigments are basically just colorful dust. And the medium
That is so rude for you to blow that into my face.
The dust hangs out in. Now, the liquid determines what type of paint you have. Pigment plus water equals watercolor.
Yeah, I love it.
Pigment plus glue equals
Glue
acrylics.
color. Oh.
Pigment plus oil equals
Oil
paint.
color.
So simple. And pigment plus, moving on. Now, the pigment does not dissolve into the medium. Instead, it's just kind of suspended in it. When the pigment does dissolve into a medium,
What's that called in chemistry? When things don't actually dissolve and it's just suspended. There's a specific word for it. Oh no, my engineering knowledge is leaving my body. Is this just called suspension? There is another word for things like milk, which is a fat suspended in another fat, I think. Oh, it starts with an O. I can't remember. Oh gosh. Anyways, yeah, glue paint. What the hell is an acrylic? I only sniff glue paint.
that's a dye. So that's the basic difference. Paint onto the canvas. To do that, we need to talk tools. Well,
Brushes.
First, you can just use your fingers.
Yes.
It was good enough for the cavemen, and it's good enough for your mom. So it's good enough for us. Then we tried brushes. Now here is the anatomy of a brush. You've got the
Bristles, ferrule, crimp, brush size, vas deferens. What? Handle. As far as I know, brush is just bristle and handle. What are all these different things?
handle, the bristles, the ferrule, and the crimp. Now, the bristles are the most important bit.
Yes,
First,
yes.
we were just using mangled up reeds called fronds. but they got really good once we started using animal hair.
Right.
Have a look at some of the animals we used.
Yes.
Taken from the neck or the back of the pig. That is the kind of brush that Van Gogh used, and it's still the gold standard for today. A goat brush. It's good, but it's not the goat. Lacks some spring, so it's mostly used for calligraphy. Bad.
Oh, I didn't know goat hair was used for calligraphy, which I used to do. I think my knowledge of bristles and stuff is all from makeup brushes, and I'm pretty sure like rabbit hair is one of the highest grade because it's incredibly soft.
Now that's actually mostly used for
Alright, fuck
shaving,
off.
not painting at all. Horse, raccoon, and wolf, also not great quality.
Excuse me, my wolf hair is of the highest quality. Especially the underbelly where it's very sensitive and very soft. But I protect. That is so rude of you. Whatever. You're talking about typical wolves. You're not talking about celestial wolves like me.
But what's the worst quality of all? You know,
Not wolf.
the gutter oil of the brush world. Well, the worst quality is camel hair brushes, and they're mostly sold as arts and crafts brushes for kids. But the weird thing is, camel hair is so low quality that it's not even used in brushes at all. Huh?
What?
Yes, so-called camel hair brushes are actually made from cats and rabbits and squirrels.
I hate that scene from Baldur's Gate, man. It hurts me every time I see it. Why did I have to pause on that? Oh no, let it go. No, leave it. No, make it go. I didn't know rabbit hair was low quality. I thought rabbit hair was high quality for makeup brushes. Maybe it's different when like the canvas is your face and not a piece of paper. Or maybe they lied to me. Or maybe I've been paying out of pocket for camel hair. Oh my gosh. All right, tell me more.
It makes people kind of sad. So they changed the name to a much less cute animal and also one that's kind of exotic so you wouldn't question it. Now, what's the best brush of all? What is the S tier of brushes? Those are made from sable.
Ah,
Of
yes.
course. 10 out of 10.
Yes,
Now,
sable
sable
brushes.
is a type of weasel. These are hunted for their fur for clothing.
It's him.
No.
But when they catch them to make clothes, they actually only want the body for the clothes. And so they discard the tail altogether.
No.
But those tails have the best hair for paintbrushes, and so they are snatched up by the brush makers. Now the hair is special because it has an interlocking scales that vastly increases the surface area, but it also holds strong in the long term. Firm and bouncy, but also soft.
It's
Firm and bouncy, but also soft.
smooth, it bounces, it moves.
L'Oreal.
Only with new Tresemme Keratin Smooth.
And they sell for upwards of
Yeah,
$300.
yeah, sable brushes are freaking expensive, bro. So expensive. But I thought part of the reason why it's so expensive is also because they're protected now. Dude, am I just pulling facts out of my butt? I thought they were hunted a lot and they stopped doing that. So now sable brushes are also hard to find.
Dollars.
Yeah, this is pretty typical. For art supplies are extremely expensive. They're protected, right? Okay, thank you. Sheesh, I thought I was out here spreading fake news. But yeah, they're extremely expensive. You haven't even seen the paint. Some of the paints are like 1 ounce, $200.
This is a brush.
Yeah, typical. That's
All
what.
right, here's a top 10 list, sort of maybe Watch Mojo style,
Huh?
of the most famous paintings and just a few interesting things about them that
Okay.
you may not know.
Mona Lisa.
Pop quiz, sports shoe wearer. Look at this painting.
I am not wearing sports shoes. I'm wearing sandals, slippers indoors, and bare feet.
What does it make you feel? Too late. Or if you answered in time, wrong answer. Happy,
didn't answer.
sad. I bet those are the only two emotions you even know. The correct answer is shame, because you are embarrassing yourself. You know nothing about the arts. So it is time to look at the best paintings to ever exist. And let's begin with the most obscure of them all.
Mona Lisa.
Whoever this is.
As a basic Karen, if I have ever seen one, I still don't understand why this painting is so expensive. Chat, I don't understand paintings. I think that I am the prime target for this video. I don't understand it. Like, contemporary art is the form of art that I understand the least. I do not understand.
The Mona Lisa.
The
Now,
Mario
I thought it went
star.
first name Mona, last name Lisa. Check it out.
Yep,
But
got
turns
it.
out Mona is an honorific, meaning madam. So
Oh.
it's Madam Lisa.
Oh!
Now, relatively recently, historians have figured out who she actually is, and they found out that she's married to a Florentine merchant, Francesco del Giocondo.
I feel like Francesco is such a typical name for that time period that I don't know if we've heard about this guy before. There are no images of the man, so here is a Florentine merchant for reference purposes. Wow.
So that makes her Lisa del Gioconda, and that explains the alternative title of the work, La Gioconda.
Oh.
Now, the reason she has her arms crossed and is a little bit chubby is because she's pregnant. In fact, you can kind of see that she's wearing a veil, and that particular type of veil was worn by pregnant women at the time. Her husband commissioned the painting when Da Vinci was already well known, so it would have been very expensive, and that makes it very funny for a couple of reasons.
Why?
One, it was never handed over to the family.
What?
Instead, Leo left it in his will to his apprentice.
Why?
And two, because for a couple of hundred years, the prevailing theory was that she was not an aristocratic wife, but instead, a prostitute. Her hair being down and her almost absent eyebrows were common traits of working girls at the time.
Oh, so people didn't have their hair down back then? What if she just had really weak hair genes, man? I have that. My hair genes are kind of weak. So my eyebrows, when I don't draw them in with makeup, they're really faint. They're really faint. I wouldn't say they don't exist, but like if you take a photo of me and you turn up the exposure just a little bit, it does look like I have no eyebrows, which is why my model's eyebrows are also non-existent. I heard about the theory that Mona Lisa was like himself, but in drag. I heard about that one. But then, like, how did you paint yourself? Because were there no cameras back then, right? Did they have mirrors? When did mirrors exist? Oh my goodness. So many questions.
Anyway, why is this painting so famous? Well, Da Vinci was already pretty famous, and the painting got stolen. This became a very big news story, and her face suddenly started getting plastered on a whole bunch of newspapers and wanted posters, making her very recognizable. From there, she became the most famous painting, which is why she always looks so smug. Starry.
See, all right, Sassy, this just tells you that there's no bad thing, no such thing as a bad exposure. There's no such thing as bad exposure, all right? Any exposure is good exposure.
This looks so smug. Starry Night, Vincent van Gogh.
Van Gogh!
Yeah, I sure hope it does.
Painted while he was in the St. Paul de Musol
So
Asylum.
stupid.
That's here. And this was the view from his bedroom window. Here is the real view a few decades later. He chose not to paint the metal bars. Now, you can see that there are 11 stars in the sky.
Yes.
Here. Supposedly,
Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, good. You pass.
that's reference to Joseph from the Bible. Joseph, he had a hard life. The minivan, he had a hard life too. And he hoped that he would be remembered at least once he was gone. Like Joseph. And you know what? It worked out for him because everybody remembers Van Gogh and nobody remembers the guys who bullied him and called him a ginger.
Oh.
Also, there's kind of a theory that he was killed by some kid. Go check out Wendigoon's
What?
channel for more information on that one.
I thought he, like, passed away peacefully. I remember going to a gallery a few years ago that was hosted here on, like, Van Gogh stuff. And they had, like, a bunch of panels on his history. Apparently he had a brother, right? Or he had a brother who was an art dealer. And his brother is the one who made Van Gogh famous, I think. It was not peaceful? Oh, I just remember that he had a really hard life. Like, he did, like most artists, I guess, they're really famous now. But during when they were alive, they were not living in luxury at all, so...
Ah, the birth of Venus. All right, let me tell you what's happening in this one. So, there's this lady, Venus. She is the goddess of beauty. And she is coming up out of the ocean in a big clam, right? Now, the clam is not a metaphor for her vagina. It's that she is the perfect pearl. Get it? Now, these two here are a divine wind.
A pee-pee.
They are blowing her like a hot spoonful of soup towards the shore. And she
Why
is
are there two of them?
carried
Is
all
one
the way
person not enough?
over to the beach. And this beach, by the way, is a real place called Paphos. It's in Cyprus. Here is what it looks like in real life.
Where is Cyprus?
Now, when she arrives on the beach, a nymph shows up, which is this lady here, and she has a cloak, and she throws
What's a nymph?
the cloak over Venus, and she says, "You know what? You're very special. One day they're gonna name a 4-blade razor after you." Arrangement in black and grey #1. Also known as Whistler's Mother, most famous for its appearance in the Mr. Bean movie. Now, when Whistler's mother originally agreed to be...
Remember when Mr. Beans was the shit? He's still the shit. He's still alive, right? I used to watch Mr. Bean when I was a young pup.
She agreed to be painted standing up, but she had to pose for so long that eventually she got quite tired and had to sit down. There you go. And that became the famous pose.
Bro, what? This is the famous pose? Shrimping? I could be this. This is me right now.
The Garden of Earthly Delights. All right, this one is probably my favorite because it looks like a Where's Waldo.
Yeah, it
and
looks
then the
so
whole thing
messy.
Just goes completely
Oh my
off the
God.
rails. So, Mr. Hieronymus, that's
Bosh.
a name that's going to make a comeback, is doing
Bosh.
all of this cool surreal stuff about 500 years ago. So let's start on the left. Here is Adam and Eve and the pre-incarnation of Jesus. And they are all hanging out in the Garden of Eden. Now what's going on in the middle bit? That's hard.
I see horses and a boar and oxes and a peacock and a rabbit and a stork. I learned that word recently. I see a bunch of birds and a lot of naked people.
Harder to explain. The best theory is either that this is Eden, if people were allowed back into the garden, or if they had never left in the first place, or if man had not committed original sin. But look at the size of that strawberry. Oh, here he is.
Hello.
Then on the right-hand panel,
Oh, okay. So I recognize
hell.
this. Oh, this is hell. Okay, I recognize this because this monster, the monster, I don't know, this man with a platform on his head and like naked, empty body with things inside. This is the first big boss you face off in the popular JRPG metaphor Refantasio. It's the first main story boss. It's like almost identical to this. I think they copyrighted Bosch. I don't know if Bosch wants to sue someday, but it's like identical. British years.
or at least a very bad time.
Mm.
This is where Oddlaw would end up. That son of a bitch.
Yeah,
Right.
fuck you,
Now,
Allah.
Here's the interesting bit. It's not painted on a typical canvas. It's actually a sort of cabinet thing with 3 panels called a triptych. And the neat thing is, if you close the doors, more painting. That is the earth, and that is the firmament. A perfect balance between flat earth and globe theory.
What, that Earth is actually half globe. So you're both simultaneously a flat Earth and also a 3D object. Wow, people are so creative.
Sunday afternoon on the island of La Grangette. This thing is pretty big, and here's the real-life place it was painted after. Although they've beautified it even more with the office building at the back.
Gorgeous.
What you may not know is that it is actually a sequel. First, George Seurat painted the left bank, and that's where all the working class sit. You see these guys that, you know, have a bit less money and stuff. Gross! And then this is
Naked
the one
people.
that you all know, and that is on the right-hand bank. And all these people are a very bougie sort. That is Scrappy Doo. And that's a monkey. The last
But that's it. Nothing else about this painting. I didn't know paintings had sequels and prequels.
sword. That
Poor
is
people
Scrappy-Doo.
suck.
And that, the Last Supper. Okay.
Oh,
so
yes,
the
we
scene
know
is
this one.
All the disciples are gathered around, and this is the exact moment that Jesus declares, "Hey, by the way, I know one of you betrayed me." And this is everyone's shocked reaction to the news, except there's one guy who's just pretending to be shocked. And here is who everyone is. I thought this was Mary, by the way. Turns out that's John.
Oh.
Very progressive. And that's all of the paintings.
Pretty sure long hair was like a typical thing back in the days for men, right? Like, did you know? I don't know if you'll talk about it because it's about painting, but back in the day, high heels were originally designed for men because heels are more useful in stirrups when you ride horses. So the higher the heel, the more power you had. It was a status symbol. Yeah. High heels were originally developed for men. I believe a lot of what is typically associated with like femininity and women these days were originally designed for men, and then it became more popular, and then men were like, I don't want it anymore. I think that was high heels, and I think makeup was also originally for dudes. Thank you for the hi Jade. Oh yeah, pink was originally a dude color. Yeah.
And that's all of the paintings, and no one has attempted one since.
Damn. I can't believe nobody has drawn since the 1700s.
Wake up. All right, so this one is about how to spot a fake painting.
Oh.
I quite like this section, but it kind of got bogged down by all
Who's
this
that green
technical
man?
information, and it went quite long. So here it is for the discerning audience.
Yes.
How to spot a fake painting.
Yeah, so here we go. This will be very useful knowledge for my Animal Crossing town when that stupid red fox Red comes on his stupid janky boat to sell me more paintings that he says are real. This is gonna help me. I will throw it back in his face.
Glug, glug, glug.
That's how I drink too.
My God. Is that a real Michelangelo?
I think so.
We're here now. Quick hypothetical lower tax brackets. If
I'll have you know that I am.
We're here now. Quick
Good night,
hypothetical lower
Archer.
tax brackets.
Bye. Good night.
If paintings like this one or this one go for literally gajillions of dollars, that's USD, then what's to stop someone from doing this? Then this, and then this, then this, and then saying it's real when it ain't.
Yeah.
You know, faking a painting.
Yeah.
Turns out, not much at all. In fact, it can be very difficult to tell these fake-ass paintings from the ones that keep it real. There's a whole-ass art to detecting these fakes, and it's become an arms race, where the authenticators find new ways of detecting, and the fakers find new ways to get around their methods.
Technology's advanced. Do you think that makes it harder to make good forgeries?
Nah, you can beat the forensics.
So, authentic.
Bro is on tape saying that he forges.
There are three main categories: provenance, connoisseurship, forensics.
I don't know any of these
Let's
words.
start in alphabetical order. Provenance.
That's not the
Now,
first
provenance
alphabet.
follows the history of the painting, tracking down the previous sellers and the buyers, all the galleries that exhibited it, the hand-to-hand that it was passed through, all the way back to the original painter. However, the older the work, the harder it is, generally, to track the provenance. Take, for example, the most expensive painting ever sold.
That what? What? Bro is doing Jujutsu Kaisen like Tennichi Ryokai pose. Domain expansion.
Salvator Mundi, the final Da Vinci, sold in 2017 for $400 million, and it
Wow.
can only be traced back to 1958. Back then, it was sold for £45. But in
Holy!
the other 500 years of its history, no one knew where this thing was. Even today.
So
people
why is
still
it suddenly
dispute
so
whether it's genuine.
expensive?
I think it's a real flim-flam. And this
Flim
is a
flam.
made-up piece of junk. I think it's fake art news. Real in drag. Then it turns up in
What?
in New Orleans. Oh, I see. They wished this Da Vinci into existence. Here's the law lost Leonardo that somebody once mentioned in a book.
Provenance has gotten a lot easier over time. You used to have to track down books and read catalogs.
Yeah, I trust him.
But now it's all online. Control plus F, there it is. So you see, kid.
What?
There's nothing online. Nothing. Tell me who you bought this from, you son of a bitch. Where did you get this? Tell me the name of the auction house that sold you it.
It was the playground after 3 p.m. It was after math class, and a kid slipped it under me, under the sleds.
Connoisseur. Look at the work. Do you believe what you are seeing? How
Yes.
does it look? How does it taste? Are these ballpoint pen strokes those of a master artist? Luckily, there are people like Martin Kemp, who spend their whole careers focusing on single artists.
I've been dealing with Leonardo for, I suppose, about 50 years.
I've been dealing with Leonardo. Like, he and I go way back, bro. He and I are drinking buddies. Back in the day, we had a crush on the same woman.
They can pick out the fakes. So, for example, when he was looking at La Bella Principessa, he went, Yep, he uses the trois crayon. He's a left-handed artist. The proportions of the head and the face are all correct. You know what? I'm going to give this a big rubber stamp right there in the middle of the painting. Confirmed. So, for the fakers, they have to have a keen understanding of who they are copying. One of the best fakers, Almir de Hore, for example, mastered the brushstrokes of artists such as Matisse, Modigliani, and Renoir so well that hundreds of museums are currently in possession of his works. With
You can get famous by being a fake-ass bitch, and then people will praise you? Why isn't he, like, arrested? Why is he out here in a party when he's old? What? Huh? Why did I even go to engineering school, dude?
without even knowing it. Yes, well, Michelangelo was famous for his cangiante painting techniques, and I can't see any of that here. You're 0 for 2, kid. You're going down. Forensics.
Forensics.
This thing's going straight to the lab. You're about to have a paint brush up with the law. Masterpiece. More like you're a real masterpiece of shit, kid. Fuck you. All right, now the people that solve murders have really changed the game when it comes to art forgeries by implementing radiocarbon dating. Radiocarbon dating. Carbon dating? Yeah, but it's not serious. Paintings are made out of carbon. And when a thing is made out of carbon, there are these unusual isotopes of carbon-14, right? They're floating all throughout the air and the atmosphere. Now,
For the uninitiated, an isotope is just a different arrangement of electrons.
all living things contain a trace of them. They are taken in when something eats, breathes, anything else. And that happens continuously throughout the life cycle. However, when the organism dies, it stops taking in new carbon, right? Which means it stops taking in new carbon-14. Same thing happens to a painting. You've stopped putting paint on the thing, no more carbon. Carbon-14 is an
Wait, but paint is already dead. Like, paint is not an alive thing. Does that logic really transfer like that? I'm confused.
unstable isotope, and it decays at a very steady rate. Poof. It turns into nitrogen-14 and a beta particle.
A beta?
And because these carbon-14 atoms decay at
Where
a
are the
very
sigmas?
steady rate, in principle, you can look at the proportional number of carbon-14 atoms and determine how old something is. More carbon-14?
Oh, I didn't know carbon-14 had a half-life of 5,730 years. Wow. That's a really long half-life. Oh my goodness. It's wet and binds carbons in the air. Oh, thank you. What's stopping me from just spraying water on that paint to reactivate it then? Like, if it's watercolor, I can just spray some water on it. It'll reactivate the paint. Boom! New carbon! Cheated the system. Does that work?
Newer painting. Less carbon-14, older painting.
Oh.
In 1985, using this technique,
You ruined
they
the
caught a
painting.
guy, Robert Trotter, who forged a Sarah Hon painting. Far too many carbon-14 atoms. Lock 'em up, boys.
Oh.
But there are even simpler methods of testing the age of a pigment. 3 Jackson Pollock paintings were found to be fake when it was determined that the pigments on the canvas weren't sold until the 1960s.
Oh!
But Pollock was dead by 1956.
No way! Oh my god! Oh my goodness.
Nowadays,
Sherlock
there are huge
could never.
pigment libraries that can be easily cross-referenced. So that shows the year a pigment was
That's
first
so cool.
introduced and what year it stopped being used. For example, anything that has titanium white has to have been produced in the last 80 years. I'm going to be honest with you, kids.
That's so cool.
Michelangelo never used the yellow Crayola. X-rays. Now, you can blast this thing with some radiation and look behind the painting to see what's underneath. For example, did the artist do a sketch first? Maybe this is painted over something else.
Oh my god, what? You can see that? I never knew. I never knew. I guess if there's a sketch and it's like pencil, then you can determine like the lead composition and stuff. Oh my gosh. Because they don't use lead in pencils anymore. That's really cool. I didn't know they could see all your like skid marks with your eraser and stuff. Wow, they could see all the failed sketches I did. Embarrassing. Strokes of the pencil marks the yeah, the indentation. This is really cool. This is really cool.
If you look behind the Mona Lisa, you can actually see that she had a much larger head once, although maybe it just shrunk with age. And you can see that veil much more easily. Also, if you x-ray even further, you can see her fully formed skeleton. But the art forgers of today are a wily bunch. Forgers can source old canvases from the correct period. They can use error-matching pigments. Even the carbon dating can be a bit unreliable. Heck, even the x-rays can be bullshitted, as forgers take into account that their work will be x-rayed, as they do a sort of fake painting or sketch first, and then paint the next version on top. Alright, kid, I'll give you...
That's really cool. Wow. It's like your browser history. It always leaves a mark. Be careful what you look up, kids.
$20,000 for this, or a shiny new bottle of Ritalin.
What the fuck is that? Is that for kids?
Works every time.
I thought you was gonna give him like a Pokemon card.
This section is about Shakespeare. Wow, that would make so much sense for it to be in the theatre video on the main channel.
I love Shakespeare.
This dude showed...
Unironically, child. Raise your hand if you like Shakespeare. Unironically, I was one of those freaky kids in high school who really liked Shakespeare. I really enjoyed reading his work and dissecting them. Yuck! I think your mom is yuck! No, your mom doesn't deserve that. You are yuck.
Showed up and changed the game. Shakespeare. Here's the thing, though. We basically know nothing about him.
Yeah. We don't know anything about him.
We don't know what he looked like.
What the fuck is that face? I almost spat out my water.
Two best guesses. One is from this engraving on a first folio, but that wasn't put together until 7 years after he was already dead. One of his peers, Ben Jonson, knew him though and said, yeah, it's pretty close. So maybe. The second is a bust that was made for his grave.
So he's bald in both? There's only 2 versions of him and they all look not the best. Hey, he had a great facial hair. He has great facial hair. Wow. Huh. Maybe that's where the hair went.
Bunch of others, but they weren't commissioned by...
A big forehead indicates big brain. It does not indicate male pattern receding hairline. It indicates big brain. Thank you.
By Shakespeare himself. They weren't done while he was alive, and he didn't exactly stop to pose for them. But these are the ones we most recognize him by. This includes
Sharp jaw.
Chandos, which is probably the most recognizable.
Yes.
So this could be
he
him.
had a hair.
Or
He
this could
had a
be some
earring. Whoa, Shakespeare was a fabulous man.
completely other dude, or it could be an idealized version. Now, we also don't know exactly when he was born, or when he died, or how he died. His birthday is celebrated on the 23rd of April, but there's no record of that. And then he died on the 23rd of April as well. So he died on
So
his...
someone just liked this date. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've heard like Shakespeare is like a group of people. People have said Shakespeare is not, it's just an identity, it's a brand. It's not one person because there was no way a person could write so versatilely in many different genres in a short period of time. I've heard people say that Shakespeare is a woman and it was just an identity she made up because otherwise she wouldn't be taken seriously. I've heard who could have known that Shakespeare was the original VTuber chat? Instead of streaming, he was writing plays, but nobody knows anything about him. That's really cool. Isn't that so cool? I think Shakespeare is so cool.
Birthday? Odd coincidence. But we know that he did marry a lady named Anne Hathaway.
What?
Yes, same as Catwoman, but this one was the original. We also don't even really know how to spell his name. There are tons of different signatures by him, but they're practically all spelt differently. And let's not even get started on the conspiracies of whether or not he really wrote his plays. The son of two
Yes,
illiterate
people are saying it was a ghostwriter.
parents from a lower-class neighborhood suddenly becoming the world's greatest playwright? Bit suspicious. Also, whether he was gay, or worse, whether he was foreign, or what the hell is
Or
going on
worse, if he was an immigrant. What?
with his grave. So if you go to the Holy Trinity Church in Stratford, there is his grave. There he lays, but there is an engraving above him. Blessed be the man that spares these stones, and cursed be he who moves my bones.
Wow.
Cursed, you see. You're not allowed to dig him up. So everyone is super spooked out by the curse, and they refuse to dig him up. So archaeologists instead have done radar scans.
It's like,
Turns
it's
out-
not even him.
His head is missing. He was grave robbed in 1794.
What? Oh my gosh, I got goosebumps. I didn't know that. Wait, I want to read this. This one's a bit weird. There's actually a short story about Shakespeare's head being stolen, which was published in 1879. The story itself is set in 1794, so like almost 100 years ago. In it, a man hires a gang of grave robbers to steal the head. In 2016, Shakespeare's grave was scanned properly and the head was discovered missing. Turns out there are all sorts of little details that match up between the short story and those of the real-life grave robbing that must have happened. For example, the depth of the grave, the material inside. Very suspicious. Seems like someone knew someone. I was just about to say, it's such a clever thing to put an oracle-like, a prophecy-like rhyme on your tombstone to curse those who disturb you, so you'll never be disturbed. Who cares if it works? At least don't get scared. But why did they only take the head? What are they going to do with the head? Like the skull, not the head. The skull. Oh my god.
Robbed in 1794. So we can't even reconstruct him that way. And they won't open it up for DNA tests. So it...
Oh wait. Conspiracy theory time. Maybe the grave in there, the skeleton in the grave bone is not even him, and they put a random ass man to in there, and they had to remove the head because otherwise facial reconstruction would be possible with the skull or something. I don't know.
It's likely that we will never know the truth. The government is hiding something.
I know they are.
The point is, Shakespeare stole a theatre at one point. Okay, quick Shakespeare moment. In 1590,
You did?
Shakespeare was working as a playwright with his acting troupe called the Lord Chamberlain's Men. Now, they were leasing out a theatre in Shoreditch called The Theatre. Creative name. Anyway, they had a disagreement with the landlord, Giles Allen. Giles revoked their lease. Shakespeare and the Chamberlain's Men were not very happy about that, but they had no option but to walk away. But a few days later, in the dead of night, they came back. Now, the group met up just outside the theatre, and they had bribed the watchman to look the other way.
Looking?
Then, with daggers and tools in hand, they broke into the theatre. Now, they weren't there to kill Giles, and they weren't there to steal stuff from the theatre. No. They were there to rob the theatre. They tore down the entire building, piece by piece, and they started carting it away to a warehouse. From there, they ferried it across the Thames and over to Southwark. With the materials that they stole, they constructed the Globe Theatre. And there it stood for the next 14 years until it burnt down. Whoops.
I apologize about the car passing by, but Grok, is this real? AI, Google AI, is this real? What the frick? If you won't let me live in this house, I'm going to forcibly remove every piece of timber from it and then rebuild it somewhere else.
It was a performance of Henry VIII, and a prop cannon was involved. Don't worry about that. But then it was rebuilt. But then in 1642, it was shut down again.
Oh.
But in 1997, a recreation of the Globe Theatre was made once more. And in London, you can visit it today,
It looks like a
as long as you can
jail.
avoid being stabbed.
Is that it?
And now for the best section of all.
Oh, there's more.
Come on, people, we're ready to shoot. Where's the pizza box with the hole in it?
Oh.
Oh, wait, hold on. Where are we? What kind of set is this? What set is this?
Never mind, that's my cue. I gotta go.
What?
Catch you soon.
You're the pizza box with a hole in it?
Don't forget NordVPN.
Oh. Bye. Enjoy your pizza with a hole in it.